Okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to go over the parts of the machine and the controls. I'm going to use the list that's in the owner's manual to go over the parts and the controls, and so you can follow along with the operator manual if you'd like. First thing on the list is the rubber roller, and this is the most important and the most expensive part of this, or any laminator for that matter. You do not want to get any knives, any open blades near these rollers. Once they're cut for life and they would have to be replaced. GFP does include a safety knife called a zippy knife with the machine, and it has a changeable blade. It uses the old style double-edged razor blades, and you can use the same blade 4 times before you have to replace it. So again, no open blades within about a foot of this roller, and these rollers will last for you for a long time. The next thing on the list here is the left cabinet. Pretty self-explanatory. There is an emergency stop switch on top of the machine here. When you press it in, it stops the machine. When you twist it, it goes back to ready. You have the left rewind housing. Okay, right here we have the liner rewind shaft, and it has the liner rewind cardboard tube already installed. We have the pressure adjustment linkage shaft, the film supply mandrel and core clips are back here, and right here above the main rollers is the laminating film idler bar. The right rewind housing, the film supply brake adjustment is here, the liner rewind brake adjustment is here, the roller gap adjustment hand wheel is here, control panel here, and we'll go over the controls in a minute. The right hand cabinet, the foot pedal plugs in here, and of course you have a foot pedal that plugs in, and the stand. The stand has a place to store materials at the bottom, and also a place to store tools on the inside. And then you have the bottom supply mandrel and the brakes. The main power switch is in the back of the machine, and you also have a fuse there, and that fuse is for if the motor gets overloaded, that fuse will blow rather than damage the motor or circuitry inside the machine. Some of the newer machines have the foot pedal connector on the back panel. The controls on the machine are pretty simple. You have a power light that indicates when the power is turned on, and if the emergency stop switch is pressed, that light will not come on. You have a speed control, and it's best to keep the speed slow when you're first learning how to use the machine. I always tell people that the quickest thing you can do when you're learning how to laminate is ruin materials. So I recommend running that on about speed 2 most of the time. You're going to have a run switch, and then stop actually says foot, and that's where the foot pedal control takes over. Then you have a forward, which is what you're going to use most of the time, and a reverse. Reverse is actually used only when you get a wrap up inside the machine and you want to reverse that out, or if you want to mount from the rear of the rollers. The instructions here mention that there's a photoelectric eye. It runs right in this area across here, and it's there to keep you from feeding your hand into the machine, and it works similar to the photo eye on your garage door opener. Just a safety feature. The reason why you can't run the machine continuous in reverse is because you don't have a photo eye in the area on the back here. If you trip the photo eye while you're running, either with your hand or with material, it will be necessary to turn the run switch to foot. This resets the photo eye, and then you can continue running again. The only controls that are not mentioned here on the control panel are the brakes, and those are probably the most tricky thing to get used to on a laminating machine, and this machine's no different. You have a brake adjustment here. You have a clutch, or they call it the rewind brake in the manual, and you have brake adjustments on the bottom roll on both sides. We'll get into specifics of how to adjust those in later videos. So those are the controls on the machine, and the only other control I can think of to tell you about is you do have locking casters. To unlock the caster, you can kick or press the top of the caster and then press down on the front of it to lock it in. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about cleaning the machine. You notice I have here a bottle of rubbing alcohol and a shop towel. This is what we use to clean the rollers. You don't want to use any harsh chemicals on these rollers because you could damage the rubber. What we want to do first is raise the main roll high enough so that it'll spin freely, and then we're going to take the cloth, get it good and wet with alcohol, and then simply wipe the roller. It's important to keep the rollers clean for the best quality product, and also to keep your materials from sticking to the rollers. If you get any adhesive buildup on here, it's going to be necessary to clean that off, otherwise you're going to have a problem with the machine jamming up. You should also wipe down periodically the entire machine so that you keep dust and debris away from your product. There's dust and debris is the #1 enemy of laminating, and with a lot of static, electricity from the materials being separated, it has a tendency to draw in dust and debris. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to clean the bottom roller because it's a little more difficult to get to. The first thing you want to do is raise your main roll all the way to its highest position. Then you're going to take your shop towel and get it good and wet with alcohol again. You're going to reach in between the rollers here and clean the part of the roller that's exposed that you can get to. And then with power onto the machine, you'll simply run the roller a little bit forward to the next spot, clean it again, and continue on until you've got the whole thing clean. Okay, there are a few things that you're going to want to have that do not come with the machine. First thing is a tape measure for aligning the films, and just general measurement, a roll of masking tape, and this is a 1-inch roll. It's also handy to have a 2-inch roll on hand for some projects, and a utility knife. Again, you don't want to get the utility knife anywhere near these rollers.